control the vertigo.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your host Mark. Today we're covering a story from the Night Gallery. This is Season 3, Episode 13, and it's called Whisper. It first aired on the 13th of May, 1973. Interesting one, this is Sally Field and Dean Stockwell, the main characters in it. There is an older psychiatrist also in it called Ken Smith. So it's basically three actors in the entire thing. Story was originally based on a story by Martin Waddell, and the teleplay was written by David Rayfield, and directed by old hand Jenna Schwartz, who we've covered many times. Now, it involves a married couple called Charlie and Irene Evans, played by Dean Stockwell, very young Dean Stockwell, and Sally Field, the youngest Sally Field. And it involves this couple. Now, basically, Irene seems to be open to being kind of overtaken by spirits. She's a medium, but she kind of can get possessed by spirits for short bursts, but always returns. Her husband, who has kind of moved her around and helped her to find help in the form of the psychiatrist, it's a bit odd. These not most characters in this is a bit odd. In fact, sometimes he does quite a lot of first-person narration, telling you what's going on. Some of it directly to the camera, which is a bit odd. And he is more angry with the psychiatrist's work than the fact his wife is suffering from these issues. At one point she sort of expresses, kind of thoughts that I bet he wishes she was different, and he says, "I'll find you perfect just the way you are." He's kind of into this, is the vibe you get, rather than just being more. He's more than understanding. He's more like he's happy with her in this way. I don't quite understand that. It's quite complex and quite sophisticated, really. Given if you were to sort of describe, I want this story to someone, they'd make it much more. He's trying to help her and getting angry or frustrated by the fact that it's just not making progress. But he seems more angry at the psychiatrist. He feels like he's more like a harbinger of doom than anything else. It's kind of interesting. I liked it. Now, it had to be mentioned, I saw on a few reviews and comments on this, that this is like almost a precursor to something. Another TV movie Sally Field went to work on called Sybil, which came out in 1976, which was like a made-for-TV movie. I think it was a two-parter, where she plays a woman who has got multiple personality disorders. So it kind of is in a similar space, though this isn't about multiple personalities, though it could be. That's one of the intriguing things about this story. It's more about she seems to be possessed by past spirits. And in fact, some of the actions and things she does bear that out, because she seems to have knowledge of things she shouldn't have, that you wouldn't have in a multiple personality, things in places, for example. And she also changes accent when she's possessed by spirits. So she becomes a southern lady at one point and refers to her husband as Johnny, She becomes possessed by a serial called Rachel, and asks Johnny, i.e. her husband, to help pull stones away from this place. There's something hidden, and it's presumably a baby, is kind of thing. In the end, it kind of resolves in quite a tragic way, and I won't get into it too much, but it's odd that her husband is an enabler of all this stuff, rather than trying to help her become less problemed by this. I don't want to say more normal, because that isn't quite what we're going for. It's obviously a troublesome somewhat, and in fact, the end confirms that. But it was quite interesting. It was quite an interesting one. It just seems a bit odd that Dean Stockwell was into this, and it's not really obvious why. And I guess that's the subtlety and ambiguity that kind of helps it. It's kind of one of the better ones from season 3. It's getting up there with the good ones from season 1 and 2, really. And I quite enjoyed it. It's got an almost... It's more like an impression piece than a story in many respects. It's a mood. It's a feeling. And the music really complements all this well, I have to say. And I quite like Sally Field in this. I thought she was rather good. And Dean Stockwell I always liked as well, and it's kind of interesting to see him in this. And I felt this was I suspect, we've only got a few more left, I suspect this is the last high point of season 3, to be honest. There's been a couple of good ones, and this is one of them. But I don't know until I finish. I don't know. This is a first time watch for me, as is quite a lot of season 3 actually, and I quite liked it. I'd recommend this one. I don't think I've got much more to say because I don't really want to spoil the thrust of the story, but I will repeat, it's a mood piece. It's a vibe, it's a feeling, this one, rather than a straight sort of satisfying cathartic story. And its ambiguous ending doesn't give a catharsis in any way, but it's an interesting. In fact, I watched it twice because I just felt like, did I miss something? I like the mood, but I feel like there might have been more story that I somehow hadn't picked up on. But no, it's kind of a mood piece. I suspect it probably didn't go down that well when it aired. It was quite an unusual thing. They were being much more direct on the nose and shock value kind of stuff in the later season 3 stuff. But this really wasn't that. This was a much more subtle thing. And I quite liked it. So I will stop there. But before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to